September is going to be tough to beat when talking about the best month of indie games in 2025, with some titles which have gone absolutely bananas, as well as entries from fan favourite series which are legit Game of the Year contenders. So let's begin with A Gentleman's Dispute, a chaotic party brawler where refined scoundrels duke it out in destructible arenas, swinging bats, setting traps, firing cannons, and generally misbehaving, while trying to remain the last gentleman standing. You'll match up with up to 8 players locally or online, choosing absurd weapons and stacking perks to increase the chaos after every round. Hazards like speeding trains, sharks, or crumbling floors adds even more mayhem to the action, and that's not even taking into account the actions of the other players, with the physics and slapstick brutality making this fun with friends. PIGFACE is a kinetic, ultra-violent first-person shooter where you play as Exit, a deeply flawed individual whose past has gotten her stuck in a nightmarish contract with bad people. You awaken in a blood-soaked warehouse with a bomb drilled into your skull, and now your only path forward is to obey orders, complete missions, and find out who is pulling your strings. I love the throwback look, with the mixture of guns, melee weapons, and explosives contributing to the brutal combat, having taken a great first step in early access with a lot more to be added. This video is brought to you by Berserk B.I.T.S, an auto-battler idle RPG that lives on your desktop while you go about your day, where your digital battle intelligent teammate, or BIT, fights viruses, levels up, and collects chips even as you work on documents and spreadsheets, check your email, or browse the web. Coming to us from the developer of the pixel art action platformer Berserk Boy, and where that game takes inspiration from Mega Man X, this instead has more Mega Man Battle Network DNA, with Digimon Digivice and Tamagotchi inspiration. Collect over 100 battle chips and combine them into decks of skills, attacks, and buffs which your BIT uses in combat, gradually becoming stronger as you unlock new and more powerful chips. You have a home base to upgrade and customize with decorations, and can even import your own sprite work to personalize your BIT's appearance. There's a main story campaign, side missions, boss fights, and more, being no mere idle game, but has a narrative thread as you attempt to figure out who or what is behind the escalating waves of viruses threatening the net. If interested, they are releasing a free demo for the Steam Next Festival going live on October 13th, so try it, wishlist the game, and look forward to the release on November 20th. Oh, and the developers are also planning on expanding the game with long-term post-launch support, so join their Discord to let them know what you would like to be added to the game. Somehow, we got a video game spin-off of Mars Attacks, a movie from 1996 in the year 2025. So how amazing is the world of indie games in which Mars Attracts is a tycoon theme park management sim where you play as Martians building an amusement park on Mars with abducted humans as the star attractions. Design enclosures, manage staff, ride placement, and visitor flow, all while experimenting on your human captives and unlocking new technology. Occasionally, you will need to send out abduction parties to go catch some new attractions, picking humans up from different time periods such as ancient Rome or the Wild West, then finding a way to optimize their habitat back at home base. This is a tycoon game at its core, so you have to keep your Martian visitors satisfied and the humans contained, but if they do break free, you then have to find a way to recapture them and to limit the damage. Unlock new rides, exhibit modules, amenities, traps, and genetic experiments that serve as the main progression systems, with an absurd and darkly humid tone being an unexpected surprise, and I'm happy to see that it's doing okay. There have been a number of these simplified strategy roguelites, more about managing equipment and items rather than overtly about character progression, such as Mega Loot, with Overlooting being in the same ballpark, and is an inventory management roguelite where you're picking and optimizing set items to become strong enough to defeat your enemies. You pick from one of 3 characters and dive into regions corrupted by darkness, and as you defeat monsters, you loot pieces of gear, with powerful set bonuses being the key to your success. Choose loot upgrades and decide on which items to keep and which to discard, tailoring your strategy for the end of region boss. These are powerful enemies which have unique mechanics such as spawning minions or ones focused around particular status effects, so you need to strategize and plan accordingly. As you push onwards, you will get more skills and relics and discover more gear combinations and synergies with well done pixel art as well, and is quite the underrated title. Things really are moving once again in the beat-em-up brawler genre, with Starfire Eternal Cycle being a roguelite variant with some anime to the character designs, and it's a high-tempo action title where you pummel aliens screen by screen, getting permanent upgrades as you chase that addictive one more run gameplay loop. You dash, punch, smash, and use special skills in fluid combat, chaining attacks through tight combos and movement tricks to stay mobile while clearing waves of enemies. Select from branching rooms as you decide on which upgrades, buffs, or rewards to add to your build, gradually becoming stronger. There is a story and narrative, but it is on the leaner side of things, with more of a focus on the action, having 8 elemental types and numerous primary and secondary weapons to play with, providing variety as you experiment with these. There are some complaints of the bosses being too spongy and having too much health, but it's an early access release after all, so there is room for balance to be tweaked, with the developers already releasing at least 2 major updates since the early access launch, which is encouraging to see. If you're in the mood for something a bit more casual, Witchy Business might be worth a look, a cozy job simulator where you run your very own witchcraft shop, juggling potion orders, hexing thieves, and brewing success one cauldron at a time. Gather flowers, minerals, and oddities from your garden and the swamp, then experiment, mix, and master recipes to please your impatient customers who wander in with unique demands. On the sales floor, you must multitask, managing your counter and preventing would-be thieves from taking your stuff. Use the profits to purchase various upgrades, and when the shop is closed, tend to the other parts of the business, like the garden to restock ingredients, meditate at the shrine for bonuses, and unlock new powers through mystical rituals. I love the art style and look of this game, with an entire coven of witches to meet and talk to, as well as your very own pet cat, and is very adorable and wholesome. Chrono Gear Warden of Time is based on a VTuber character, so there is somewhat of a built-in audience for this, but the game still has to be good and they managed to pull it off, which would not be surprising given that Galaxy Trail, makers of Freedom Planets, is involved in this. This puts you in control of Oro Crony, the Warden of Time, where after a fierce battle, the powerful Chrono Gear was shattered and scattered across the cosmos, triggering a race to find the pieces and to repair the space-time continuum. This is a level-based action platformer where you make your way through handcrafted levels, adding time manipulation to the action in haste to speed things up, or stasis to slow it down, letting you dodge bullets, chain attacks, or navigate treacherous platforming segments with finesse. Between levels, there is a hub area with some familiar faces, since this is under the Holo Indie banner after all, of fan games based on HoloLive VTubers which are allowed to be monetized. So if you're deep into that scene, I'm sure that some of the appearances here will tickle your fancy. There are 2 ways to play each level: Time Attack, where you attempt to complete it as quickly as possible, or Full Exploration, where you take the time to poke and prod around the level to discover secrets, with the collectible golden gears being there for completionists. It is not the most intense or fleshed out combat system, but it's good, with awesome Freedom Planet style pixel art as well, and will be interesting to see how the catalogue of HoloLive indie games develops over the years. Perhaps unluckily, the 1.0 release of this action roguelite coincided with that of another bigger name title, but yet there's still something to swan, with this having the option for co-op, where you and up to 3 others storm through a corrupted Camelot to purge the darkness spreading across Avalon. You choose from several knight classes, each with distinct weapons and synergies, then battle through procedurally generated rooms, fighting corrupted knights, beasts, and spectral foes, with fast-paced melee attacks and powerful abilities. The blessing system gives you access to over 200 unique boons tied to the Fey Lords as a parallel to the Olympians from Hades, letting you tailor your build every run based on how you want to play, whether that means burst damage, crowd control, or more of a survivability focus. Between runs, unlock upgrades at the Beacon of Avalor that carry over, including new weapons and enhanced stats, giving you even more options. This culminates in a battle against the corrupted King Arthur, where you will see a number of other familiar faces as well, such as Merlin, all with the graphic novel, almost Hellboy kind of visual style, which looks great. This did impress during the early access launch and has only gotten better since then, so if you were waiting, now's a great time to jump in. One of the most beautiful games that I have seen is Town to City, a cozy city builder that lets you grow an idyllic 19th century Mediterranean town and nurture it into a flourishing city, all without being constrained by any grid. You freely place houses, shops, roads, decorations, and natural elements, weaving winding streets, alleyways, and plazas to match your vision for the town. As your population grows, they demand amenities, jobs, and services, so you have to zone areas for workshops, markets, clinics, and schools, balancing utility and beauty to keep your citizens happy. You will also expand into new towns, eventually linking them by trade routes or roads to create a regional network, with a variety of upgrades and unlocks as you continue to play. There is a campaign or story mode to guide you through the game, as well as a sandbox mode for pure creative expression, and is one of the best examples of voxel art. From the developer of Dofromantic in collaboration with YouTube channel Kuskasa comes Starbirds, an asteroid base building and resource management game where you lead a flock of spacefaring birds across the void, mining asteroids and constructing cosmic production networks to support your ever-growing colony. You begin on a small cluster of asteroids as you claim them, develop and mine them, then connect them up using pipes, power lines and infrastructure, optimizing how resources like ice, metals and rare materials flow between the different stations. As your network grows, so does your demands, whether it be energy or new materials, so it is up to you to figure out and optimize the production chains, expand into new asteroids, automate systems, and unlock more complex recipes through research, with each asteroid being unique and has their own resources to exploit. However, there is a lot more structure to this game and is not cute Space Birds Factorial, where you're guided fairly on rails to complete missions and objectives. I suppose this might be trying to target the broader Kuskasa audience who might not play a lot of games, and they have adjusted the difficulty as such, so they're still finding their footing in early access, so I'm curious as to where this will land. It was interesting to see the return of a series from 2019 in Deadly Days Roadtrip, a Bullet Heaven roguelite spin-off that has almost surpassed the number of Steam reviews of the original in just 3 weeks, definitely having mass appeal as compared to the strategy management slant of the original. Both games are set in the zombie apocalypse, but here, you are racing across the landscape in search of supplies and the perfect loot combo. You drive from point to point on the map, dropping into skirmishes with undead hordes as you scavenge gear, weapons, and rescue survivors while managing scarce resources like fuel as well as inventory slots. As you might expect, things can get hectic as the screen fills up with enemies and projectiles, with the items you have in your backpack affecting the power of your attacks, only triggering their full effects if arranged or combined properly. As such, this blends backpack battles or backpack hero with vampire survivors being more action-oriented as compared to its backpack brethren, with plenty of unlocks between runs as well. It also doesn't take itself too seriously, with a guy in a banana costume as their lead character on the key art, and it's just an action-packed fun time. We did also have the 1.0 release of Mars First Logistics, an open-world construction puzzle game with physics, where you design, build and pilot mechanized rovers to deliver awkward, oddly shaped cargo across Martian terrain, solo or with up to 3 friends in co-op. Assemble your rover from parts like springs, hydraulic cylinders, rockets and wheels, fine-tuning balance, torque and limb articulation so you can carry fragile loads over rocky hills, steep slopes or deep craters. You have to adapt your build to the task, changing up the design to fit the cargo. where heavy items require counterweights, oddly shaped ones require some creativity in the design of the bed, or fragile cargo requiring shock absorbers or more careful driving. As you succeed in deliveries, you unlock new parts, gain funds, and expand your reach across Mars, enabling you to build roads, power lines, monorails, or other infrastructure to streamline future deliveries, being kind of Death Stranding-like, but more of a puzzle game. I misspoke the last time I talked about this game, where the inspiration for its art style is not French artist Mobius, but the Tintin comics instead, looking fantastic and is a must-play if you love games like Besiege. Speaking of deliveries, Easy Delivery Co. is a cozy atmospheric driving sim where you step into the paws of a feline courier walking the snowy roads of a small mountain town shrouded in mystery. You accept delivery jobs, load your K-truck, and drive through drifting passes and winding roads to reach recipients while having to keep an eye on fuel levels as well as to wrangle with the slippery physics that sends your truck skidding at every turn. Meet quirky characters, learn bits of town lore, and uncover the secrets beneath the quiet exterior of the town. Speed around and find shortcuts or be more cautious in your driving, the choice is up to you, where managing your earnings and what you can buy is critical, from fuel to upgrades for your truck so that you can take on new missions. I love the retro look of this, looking like a PS1 game or something, with the low poly, grainy lighting and plenty of fog, giving it an otherworldly feel in 2025. It's a chill, kind of wholesome game, but not quite, with the whole central mystery thing being very indie games and is worth picking up. Speaking of very indie games, No, I'm Not a Human went viral and is a creepy horror title with elements similar to Papers, Please, where you play as a survivor in a collapsing world where daylight becomes lethal and night brings monstrous visitors. Every night, people knock on your door seeking refuge, but some are human and some are visitors, creatures that mimic people with sinister intent. You must decide on who to let in and who to repel, having to learn the physical traits that might help you distinguish friend from foe. During daytime, you talk to your guests, examine them and try to learn their secrets, where if you fail to catch a visitor, means that someone inside dies, while wrongfully executing a human results in guilt and lingering consequences. The house is your refuge and your prison, having a horrifying art style that makes the game stand out visually, so if you love horror games, October is the perfect time of year for this. Another 1.0 release is Jotunnslayer Hordes of Hel, a brutal Norse mythology-based bullet heaven roguelite ARPG that has you fighting through the realms of hell to prove your worth by fighting endless waves of monsters. You pick one of several damned heroes and tackle hordes of enemies across shifting maps, taking on optional side objectives in order to earn more rewards per attempt. Combat is fast, visceral, and raw as you dodge, parry, and chain attacks and abilities, gaining XP and unlocking upgrades during a run, Vampire Survivor style, getting lightning strikes, healing, AoE attacks, or others, which adds to your lethality. Meta progression ties it all together with permanent upgrades that carry over, and honestly isn't doing anything too crazy or innovative, but it looks sick and plays great, which can be enough sometimes, not needing to reinvent the wheel, and has done very well for this developer. Speaking of Survivors-style games, a massive success is Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, a roguelite adaptation of the co-op extraction mining first-person shooter, becoming a top-down auto-shooter where your dwarf faces off against swarms of alien creatures across procedurally generated caves. Weapons fire automatically, so your main task is movement, positioning, and strategic resource collection as aliens close in. You dig through walls, carve tunnels, and reshape the battlefield to create choke points or escape routes on the fly. During runs, you level up through experience drops, choose from branching upgrades and overclocks, and accumulate ore and artifacts to strengthen your build. In this 1.0 release, a full gear system has been added as you collect and upgrade armor, weapons, and tools with mods and chips, shaping your build even before a run begins. There are unique classes to choose from in Scout, Engineer, Driller, and Gunner, each with unique weapons and abilities, but interestingly does not have co-op support and is single player only, but again, it's an insanely polished, well-made one of these. There were some concerns leading up to the release of Ratatan due to the feedback during its Steam Next Festival demo, which did lead to the game getting a small delay, but I'm happy to report that those concerns have been addressed, and this rhythm roguelite spiritual successor to Patapon from the original creators is pretty great. You command armies of Koban units to the beat in side-scrolling battles, issuing rhythmic commands timed to the music as they march, attack, defend or retreat as you position your army to get a tactical advantage. The combat blends strategy and rhythm as you decide on army composition, making note of when to trigger fever mode for an extra power surge. It is structured as a run-based roguelite, so all the expected elements are here, such as meta progression and unlocking new units between runs. And yes, I know a lot of you are sick of roguelites, but a Patapon successor is certainly of note. There's also gear and other upgrades beyond just unlocking new types of units, having some vibrantly colourful art and energetic animations. Levels are themed as well, from jungles to pirate-inspired ones, having taken a great first step in early access, with the developers continuing to take player feedback into account. Yet another 1.0 release of note is Wobbly Life, an open-world physics sandbox which has an astounding almost 30,000 Steam reviews and an overwhelmingly positive rating as of recording. You're kicked out by Grandma and told to get a job, and from there, the game gives you full freedom as you take on missions, explore, crash vehicles, and play with just about everything that you see. Play solo or in co-op, online or split screen with some friends, and just live in this world, from jobs like pizza delivery, firefighting, dancing or mining, allowing you to earn money to buy new houses, vehicles, outfits or pets. It is physics based, so you can knock over objects, throw things, smash stuff, or just mess around for fun. The world is filled with secrets, ranging from hidden caves, lost artifacts, space zones and more, and while there isn't much of a narrative per se, the fun you'll have here more than makes up for it. One Steam review describes this as if GTA and Human Fall Flat had a baby and it was really stupid. So if that isn't high praise, I don't know what is. Looking to be kid-friendly as well, and might provide a decent alternative to Roblox, with the usual parental guidance of course. There was some skepticism with regards to Shape of Dreams, since this looks like yet another action roguelite with a co-op slant, but the most interesting part is that this has MOBA-style controls and teamwork. You pick from one of 8 travelers, each with distinct playstyles, then dive into dreamlike realms, hunting monsters, getting new skills, and upgrading your build with essences and artifacts. The combat is fast and fluid as you dodge, weave, strike, and time your abilities. Bonus points for the satisfaction in co-op when you pull off MOBA-like combo moves to devastating effect. There's an extensive meta progression skill tree with multiple nodes and multiple upgrade levels per node, which along with 4 difficulty levels and lucid dream modifiers lets you ramp up the challenge over time and has plenty of replayability. Refreshingly, this is not an early access release and does appear to have live service elements without a battle pass or anything, with special cosmetics for completing in-game events and challenges, so while I'm not sure what kind of long-term plan they have for the game, this is definitely worth it in its current state. There are a lot of 1.0 releases and roguelites, I know, with little witch in the words, being one of the two, being a charming life sim title where you play as Ellie, an apprentice witch sent to a new town to train, craft potions and help a forest village in need. You set off to explore the magical woods, gathering herbs, brewing potions, fishing and venturing into caves, cliffs and hidden groves as you explore and learn more about the land and its flora and fauna. Take on requests from villagers to help them out, warming them with potions, healing their ailments, uncovering their stories, and gradually rebuilding a broken village through your kindness and magic. Unlock new recipes, magical tools, and expanded access to new zones as you go along, just being warm and cozy, especially due to the pixel art and color palette. As compared to farming sims like Stardew Valley, this is a little bit less structured, since you are not worrying about crops on a daily basis, but has its own set of challenges. Still, if you love the witch theme or cozy games, this is certainly a must get. What did I tell you about roguelites? Yet another one is Mega Bonk, a title that has gone absolutely bonkers and has sold over 1 million copies and counting, and is basically 3D Vampire Survivors which uses memes to some extent, such as an almost Chad-like character. It mixes the swarms of enemies and insane number of projectiles with the 3D movement and traversal more common in games like Risk of Rain 2, resulting in a very satisfying game as you glide across the terrain and take out tons of enemies. There's a whimsy and irreverence to the game, especially seen in the characters, like a skateboarding skeleton or a sunglasses wearing monkey doing vampire survivor stuff like dodging enemy attacks while firing back, leveling up, getting upgrades and finding relics or items to power you up even further, being satisfying in the same way that many survivors likes are, and is just a great one of these. Another hugely successful roguelite is Clover Pit, a gambling slot machine symbol builder variant that got a bunch of attention when it was first revealed, and they have capitalized on that momentum into a hugely successful game. This traps you in a hellish debt loop where you have to spin and manipulate a demonic slot machine in an attempt to pay off your debt, otherwise it is into the pit with you. Each round, you spin the machine to earn coins, selecting charms, items and modifiers that change probabilities and unlock combos to rack up massive scores, Balatro style, which can be so satisfying. Runs escalate in tension over time as your debt grows larger after every round, but don't worry since there will be new charms and items and hopefully new synergies that you can exploit. Visually, it does look like buckshot roulette, and while for now, indie developers have largely been tapping on gambling tricks to sell games, I shudder to think of a future where this gets exploited for evil, since something like this could bankrupt some people. 1.0 release, not a roguelite, is Slime Rancher 2, taking the same character from the first game and putting her in a new location named Rainbow Island, where our heroine has to explore, wrangle slimes, rebuild and uncover the secrets of this new land. I'm a big fan of the original Slime Rancher, and the gameplay loop is identical here, with some visual improvements and new slimes and mechanics to play with. You venture out, suck up slimes and materials in your backpack, carry them back to your ranch and raise the slimes there, feeding them so that they produce plots, essentially poop, which you sell for currency to upgrade gear, expand your ranch and unlock new gadgets. The world itself is bigger and more dynamic, with new biomes and a weather system where the discovery of new species of slimes remains as satisfying as ever. The first-person movement and platforming feels good, and you can Skyrim climb around certain locations to uncover secrets, being a polished, well-made one of these. A roguelite 1.0 release of note is Hades 2, the direct sequel to one of my favourite indie games of all time, and is set many years later where you play as Melinoy, the immortal princess of the underworld, daughter of Hades and sister to Zagreus from the first game, using sorcery to take on Chronos, the Titan of Time, who just so happens to be your grandfather. Melinoy plays rather differently as compared to Zagreus, with cast and magic playing a much more important role since you're using Omega spells and abilities which require some charge time, affecting the flow of combat, which takes a while to get used to if you played a lot of the original. The boon system remains, but you have new deities to call upon, with interesting dual boons as well. The permanent progression systems has also been deepened and extended, with even more upgrades and tweaks, with weapon variety and the various weapon aspects still remaining a core component. Interestingly, the early access launch had a comparable amount of content to Hades 1, with this adding alternative paths to take that sees you battling on the surface as well. Being a bigger game for sure, where Supergiant as a brand name is about as much of a sure thing when it comes to quality. After what seems like a bajillion years in development, we finally had the release of Hollow Knight Silksong, and the internet went wild, being so popular that it crashed Steam for hours as everyone tried to buy the game. Originally conceived as an alternative character playthrough for the original game, this grew in scope to become so much more that they decided to spin it off and sees you playing as Hornet, exploring a haunting kingdom and a land ruled by silk and song as you ascend towards the citadel at the top. Team Cherry's signature combat and exploration combination is in full effect here, with brutal, punishing combat and memorable bosses, too challenging in fact, that some people said that this feels like post-game DLC for original Hollow Knight, so new players might need some time to adjust, or better yet, to play through the original before taking on this one. Hornet controls very differently as compared to the Knight, being more glass cannon-y in terms of damage and health, with the management of the Silk resource being key. Still, exploration is wonderful as you stumble upon new areas, with Metroidvania backtracking as expected of the genre. I'm torn on these top 2 right now, and they might end up switching places in December, but for now this is where they sit. Watch this video for more of the best indie games.